Hello. So today I am talking all about CV psychology because we spend so much time tailoring our CVs for different roles that we forget about who is reading those CVs and the psychology that really sits behind that information and how it's interpreted by those readers. So I am going to talk to you about some of the things that I talk to my clients about, and I am going to give you an insight on how you can make your CV stand out, how you can make sure that your CV gets selected, and how you can really start to understand the psychology of writing a great CV that will help you to stand out. Okay, so I'm going to go live every day this week, and I'm going to build on all of these tips, and I'm going to share lots and lots of stuff this week. So if you are watching this and you're wanting to know when I'm going live, if you want the notifications, or if you want to watch the replays, all you need to do is sign up for my newsletter. So let me just give you the newsletter sign up link. So it's pamelalangan.com/career insider, and you'll get notifications of when I'm going live. You'll also get access to all of the replays and any of the resources and all of the fabulous newsletter content that will be coming out over the next few weeks. So if you're in job search hell at the moment, this is going to be perfect for you, because this is going to give you a great understanding of what you need to do in order to make sure that you're standing out and getting selected for those interviews. Okay, so let's get started. So by the end of this week, I'm hoping that I've given you enough information that you've got a complete toolkit that you can have that real understanding of what having a great CV means, what it looks like, what it feels like, and how it's going to come across to all of the people that you're sending it into, all of those readers that you are hoping are going to read it and think, yeah, it's a no-brainer, we need to interview that person. Okay, so thinking about what recruiters really see, so thinking from the perspective of recruiters, hiring managers, anybody that is going to receive your CV, and they're going to have that first impression of your CV. Okay, so most people think that recruiters carefully read CVs, that they read all of the detail, and as they're reading through that CV, they're thinking, where can I place this person? Or, how could this person fit in with our business? Now, to a point, they are doing that, but in reality, they are having a quick sift, they're having a quick scan, and they're looking for information that is going to jump out to them. And at that point in time, they're just looking for alignment, they're looking for value, they're looking for things that you can bring to their organization or to their client's organization. So they're not thinking too deeply into it at that stage. Okay, so don't worry too much about the detail on your CV right now. This is all about making sure that your impact, your value is really clear. Okay, so generally CVs will be scanned and not read in detail. So that's the first thing that I need you to know. And usually somebody will judge your CV pretty quickly. So there's loads of different, loads of different advice out there around how many seconds a recruiter or a hiring manager will read your CV for, like everything from 3 seconds to 23 seconds. Nobody knows. It just depends on how well that information is placed and written on that CV as to whether it's going to hook them in and help them to continue reading. And people think that most of the CVs that are sent in for job applications are filtered out by an applicant tracking system. Applicant tracking systems are not your enemy. They are not something that is rejecting you from roles. They are merely databases that are collecting the CVs and then categorizing them based on the information that the human has given them. And then the human will then look through those different categories and what's being placed in those queues, and then they'll make a call on whether they take you forward. Now, what is happening a lot is the information isn't always brilliant that's inputted into those systems. Lots of people are getting rejected that should have, in reality, been selected for interview. So it can be quite difficult when you're in that space and you're like, I'm clearly an ideal match for this, but I'm still getting rejected. All it means is that the applicant tracking system isn't set up properly in the background, or maybe they've just had multiple applications and your CV doesn't stand out as that person they want to interview. So don't get too hung up on the applicant tracking system. If you take all of this advice this week, then you'll have a CV that you can put forward that will allow you to be in a position where not only is your CV going to get through any keyword check, it is also going to be visually appealing and it's going to show value and impact as well. Okay, so remember that recruiters and hiring managers are just skimming through your information. They are not reading through it line by line. And it might sound quite harsh because I know how much effort it can take to create a CV, but you need to think of this from the perspective of every person that is going to look at your CV, is going to scan read it, and it needs to work for them instantly. Okay, so when you're reviewing your CV after you've listened to this, or when you're next tailoring it towards a role that you're applying for, you need to be thinking, what are the key elements that stand out to me now? What do I want to stand out, and how do I want to come across on this CV? Okay, so if you're watching this video, then if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them below or send me a DM and I will be happy to answer those. So in terms of your CV and how it's interpreted, I think that, and this is my personal opinion, but I've worked with so many people now and helped them to get their recruitment processes working well, help them to understand, who are the right candidates to interview. And I'm also working with the candidates to help them write their CVs in a way that makes them stand out. So I believe that there's three zones of truth on your CV. Okay. Now, I believe that recruiters and hiring managers are going to be going through these zones, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, to assess your suitability for their role. Okay, so the first zone is going to be the credibility zone, and this is going to be the first impression, how they feel about your CV, how it looks, how it comes across. Is it messy? Is it structured nicely? Are all the spaces the same? And then you've got the second zone, which is the value zone, which is, are you capable? Can you do our role? And then you've got the third zone, which is the fit zone, which is, are you right for this role? And this is where they're going to be looking at things like, things that you've shared about yourself, the way that you're coming across on that CV, like, do you align with them? Have you attempted to tailor that CV to show that you align with their culture and values and all of that kinds of stuff as well. So as the reader is reviewing your information, they're going to go through those three zones. So are you credible? What's the first impression? Are you going to add value? And will you fit with the team? Okay, so they're the three key points that you need to think about as you're writing your CV. Now, thinking about the credibility zone, this is where in those first couple of seconds, somebody is going to make an instant judgment on your information and on your CV. So what they're looking for is they're looking for a clear layout. They're looking for a real kind of professional persona, and they're looking for strategic placement of your key info. So really that first page of your CV, whether your CV is 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages long, that first page is super important because that is where they're going to make their initial judgment. That's where they're going to get their first impression. And that is where usually by the time they get to your career history, they've already made a decision to interview you. So when you think about what information you've got on that first page, is it selling you well? Does it show what you can do, what you can deliver? And is it structured in a way that it's easy to scan and at a glance, somebody can see exactly what you do? Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at or think about is how you can make your CV feel more credible. Okay, so when you look at a CV, what you want is to be able to read it really easily. Now, if you've used like some kinds of Canva design, if you've had it designed by a designer, it's all colorful, it's got pictures, all of this kind of stuff, what you're going to do is distract the reader. Now, if they don't like your design, then they might reject you on the basis that, that design doesn't work for them, rather than read through your information. Now, if you put your information into columns, what you're doing is you're taking the reader away from their natural style of reading. So we read from left to right across the page. If we're speed reading, we tend to read from left to right and down the middle. Now, if you've put your information into columns, what you're doing is you're asking the reader to read all over the page, and it can be quite tricky, and you're asking them basically to do more work than is required. So sometimes they can just look at it and go, wow, I don't know where to start, I can't really see anything that's jumping out at me, and that'll go into the reject pile. Okay, so you want to make sure that top part of your CV is super clear. You've got that professional summary that explains exactly what you can do, what you can deliver, what you're going to bring to their role. And then you've got some key skills and competencies before you go into your career history section. You want to have that interview nailed down. Okay, so make sure that when you review your CV, you do need some white space on there, but lots of white space can make a CV feel quite junior as well. So if you're really unsure and you're kind of thinking, I'm not sure where I stand with my CV, then drop me a message and I can do a review for you and let you know. Okay, so another thing that you can do, which is really good, and this works really well as well, is what I call the 6-second test. Okay, so this is where you give your CV to your partner, to a family member, to your child. Maybe not a small child; they need to be able to read through it, or a friend, somebody that can look at your CV, page one, just page one, look at your CV and give them 6 seconds to review your information. And then what you want to know is from them, what are the key things that stood out? What do they think you do? What do they think you can bring to the table? Now, within 6 seconds, they should be able to give you an overview of what you bring. And if they can't, this is where you need to think about the information and how you've structured that on there. Now, the way that I write CVs is about making sure that your information is created or is displayed within that document so that it's super easy to read. There's different sections that are bolded that create pattern interrupts, that it's super easy to scan read, that the bullets are all outcome focused, and it's really, really clear what role you're applying for from the top to the bottom of that first page. Okay, and if somebody gets hold of your CV, they should be able to tell you within 6 seconds what it is that you do. Okay, so have a try at doing that and let me know how that goes. So remember, like, what is going to stick for them is what is going to stick for a potential employer or interviewer. Okay, so another thing that you can do is ask them to pick out 3 key things. So if they're not sure because they don't really understand what you do, just ask them to read the first page and then to just pick out 3 key things about you. They don't need to understand your job role. They just need to be able to pull out that key information because you've made sure that it's super clear and they can see exactly what you do. Okay, so some key takeaways for today is to remember that your CV is judged visually before it's read. So make sure it feels professional, make sure it feels smart, make sure it feels like it's a good representation of you. Make sure that you've thought about that credibility zone and you've set the tone and you are showing them exactly what you can bring to the table. And remember that you have just those few seconds to create that trust and show that you are relevant to their role. Okay, so what I'd absolutely love you to do is to run your CV through the 6-second test with somebody and let me know how that goes. And, take some time today or this week to go through your CV and have a look at it and make sure that, the spacing is right, that the font is modern and easy to read, that you've got the key information that you need on there. You haven't just crammed everything that you've ever done onto that CV. And tomorrow I'm going to go live again and I'm going to talk about that second truth zone, which is all around the value and showing the value that you bring to make sure that when somebody reads your CV, they can instantly see the value and know that it's a no-brainer to invite you for that interview. Okay, so if you want to know when I'm going live, if you want the replays and the resources and all of the other good stuff, then you can sign up for my newsletter. I'll just put the link on the bottom there again. So it's pamelalangan.com/career insider. And if you've got any questions or if there's any tips you particularly want me to cover, then please do get into my DMs or go to the website, which is pamelalangan.com, to see all of the services and ways that you can work with me. And I'll be back tomorrow live. I'm not going to put a time on it. It will just be between clients, and I will be back tomorrow to share with you how you can show value, or the value that you bring, on your CV. So I'll see you back here tomorrow.